Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and Merry Christmas to you. We are the Netcrashers, of course. I'm Leth.
As always, Jeremy Reynolds.
I'm Steve Green.
And we are here at Greener's house in his rec room, of course, waiting patiently for the start of the World Junior Championship 2012. Canada facing off against Finland today to kick off the tournament.
Yeah. T-minus 3.5 hours until the first game of the tournament starts for Canada.
4:30 here, is it? 4:30 Newfoundland time?
4:30, I think it's around 5 o'clock. It could be 2. I mean, the pregame probably starts around 4:30.
They say it's 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so it'll be somewhere around 4:30. But we are amped to go. There's already been 3 games for the pre-tournament for Canada, 2-1 in those games. They lost Friday night to Sweden 5-3 in a poor showing by Mark Vicentin.
Yeah, I mean, he was pulled, in the second period, halfway through the second?
Middle of the second, yeah, and he looked pretty shaky, I think, in that game.
Well, it brought back all the all the memories of
the comparisons are inevitable in that respect.
And Bob McKenzie was saying that David Hay is going to go with Mark Vicentin for the game today.
Don't know how we feel about that, but
general consensus is not too good here.
Yeah,
rather.
Well, this is going to be the final test for Vicentin. I think the jury's already out on that one. If he doesn't come through, we're going to see Wedgwood getting the lion's share of the starts going forward.
Well, I mean, Wedgwood had the better numbers coming in, like we all said, and he was solid in net for the remainder. Game 3 versus Sweden, Game 2 versus Switzerland. Of course, only 1 goal allowed. Vicentin only allowed 1 in the first game. But I mean, if Vicentin can't pull up his socks, you got to think that Wedgwood is going to be the starter by the end of the round robin.
Well, Wedgwood's going to be biting at the heels. He wants to start.
100%, yeah.
And no matter how many feel-good TSN stories they put out about Vicentin seeking redemption, it's all about wins and playing the tournament in Canada.
Yeah.
The pressure is just tremendous for these youngsters right now.
Well, David Hay was quoted saying that he knows Vicentin because he practices with him on a daily basis, and he said that he thinks that Vicentin is ready to go.
Yeah.
But we all watch the games. There's a huge difference between the games and practice.
He's a guy that he's not great under pressure. So
no, and it's
it reminds you of a bit like how Roberto Luongo can get sometimes when the pressure is on.
Ooh,
just making some mental snafus that you'll see, letting in some weak goals
for sure.
And he was already the whipping boy last year. One of the reasons why Canada has that third period debacle against Russia. So, you got to think the Canadian public is very, vested into this and want to see the goaltending situation shored up. It's be early on in the tournament. We don't want to wait until near the end.
Definitely.
Have a start.
We don't want to have it blow up in the gold medal game like we did.
No.
I think we should give a special Netcrasher standing O for Devontae Smith-Pelly, looking like a man among boys through the 3 pre-tournament games. Just
the kid is a Brahma bull.
Everything that moves, he hits. Basically, it's pretty incredible. I mean, he had 2 goals in the game versus Switzerland.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's a guy that can get it done at both ends of the ice. And
the hit with him and Mark Scheifele, when they both hit the same time at the same time. If you haven't seen it, check it out on YouTube.
I'm just wondering more so. I'm worried for his well-being.
Yes,
in a way.
That miss hit he had in the game against Sweden, it looked like he could have shattered his tailbone because he went ass first.
A lesser man might have
behind the net. Yeah.
Well, a lot of people say that if you miss your check, you're going to be out of position, and hopefully that doesn't happen to him. Hopefully, he tries to settle down a bit and play the game that obviously the Anaheim Ducks seen in him to keep him up with the NHL team.
Yeah, I mean it's a game he might be able to get away with at junior, but if he's going to be looking forward to playing in the NHL, he's not going to be able to play like that. So
no, exactly.
I mean, use the style, be physical, but don't be caught out of position trying to make a highlight reel check.
Exactly. True. But I mean, Canada's not the only team in the tournament. Obviously, you've got the defending champ. Well, as much as we would have liked, but the defending champs, of course, the Russians, looking just as strong as they did last year. I know that they incurred some tragedy over the summer, of course, with the Yaroslavl Lokomotiv plane crash. They lost some players, but the top 2 players, the top 2 prospects for next year's entry draft, the 2012 entry draft, are Russians, and they're playing on this team. Nail Yakubov and as well Mikhail Grigorenko, both players playing in the OHL, and they're both suiting up for Team Russia. And Russia, they actually went 2-0 in pre-tournament play with a 6-3 win over the Americans, which is very impressive.
Yeah, very impressive.
And then 5-3 over the Czech Republic. And they look to be the team to beat, I think. Besides Canada, I think that the Russians are definitely the team to beat. And then they've got this other guy, he's a Washington first-rounder that a lot of people are saying is going to be a player to watch, Evgeny Kuznetsov. So keep your eyes out for him on the ice as well. But the Russians looking just as great as they always
You
do.
know,
Another Rusky making his way into the Washington Capitals organization.
Yeah,
the
really.
last couple of years, we've seen that they have solid goaltending. We've seen that there's never a problem with firepower on this team.
No, definitely not.
Most explosive team in the tournament.
Yeah.
For sure, we saw it last year.
The only thing that you can question on Russia is their defense.
Defense toughness, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because you have teams like Canada that are coming out and they're going to be fired up. And how good of a defensive defenseman do they have on that team? Obviously, there's scoring power on that team.
Yeah.
It's kind of like an asterisk in terms of hockey because last year in the gold medal game, Canada owned the play for the first two periods.
Yep.
Defensively, offensively, all of that. But all it took was a period of like 5 minutes in the third.
Yep.
Where all the Russian firepower just
Boom, boom, boom.
was able to get over the hurdle that was the
Yep.
Canadian defense.
100%.
And usually in hockey, defense prevails, just like it does in every other sport. But the
Yeah.
Russians somehow have the firepower
When it comes down to one
eliminate
game,
that.
I mean, when it comes down to one game, it's a bit different. You know
if it
what
was
I mean?
a series, like you take the Stanley
Exactly,
Cup
yeah.
Finals,
Yeah.
Stanley Cup playoffs,
Yeah.
it's going to be a different story.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
on any given Sunday, or the football analogy,
Yeah.
the Russians have what it takes to win this tournament.
They love momentum, and
Yep.
we've seen that last year for sure. As
For
soon as
sure.
the momentum changed, they were head first into it.
And they really had the motivation last year to spite the Canadians who were favored. Now the Russians are the favorites. Let's see how they handle that pressure here in
Indeed.
Canada.
All right, we got another solid team in the tournament. We're talking Sweden.
Yep.
If you had to look at the players that could be returning that are playing actually in the NHL now, you're looking at Gabriel Landeskog, Adam Larsson,
Colorado,
Oliver
New
Ekman
Jersey.
Larsson, and Magnus Paajarvi Svensson.
Yep.
Right, that's a solid line no matter
Yeah,
what
for
way
sure.
what way you try to break it down.
That's almost up there with the players who, for Canada, are playing with NHL teams right now. We're talking about Ryan Nugent-Hopkins,
Yep.
Taylor Hall, I think he's still available,
Eric Goodbranson.
Tyler Seguin, Eric Branson.
Yeah. You're looking at some solid prospects here with Philip Forsberg. He's looking to be going in the first round for sure.
A lot of people saying top 5. TSN right now have him ranked number 2. Now TSN draft rankings, I find they're a little bit off kilter this early in the season, but
It's hard to tell.
it is hard to tell.
Yeah.
But he's playing very well.
Sebastian Kohlberg is another one that he's a forward. He's only small. He's registered at 5'11", 170 pounds.
Yeah.
But European players, you're seeing that as a more trending thing. They're not as big as they used to be. You're not.
They don't
getting
need to be if they're going to
Yeah.
be playing in the NHL. You know?
No.
Especially on the bigger ice service of the World Juniors.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the ability of goaltenders to avoid the trapezoid because it doesn't exist in World
Exactly,
Junior
yeah,
play.
for sure.
Opens up the ice for the
Yeah.
smaller guys.
And they played phenomenal against Canada, and especially a player that I like to see because he's an Ottawa prospect, Mika Zibanejad. We've seen him down in Mile 1 earlier on in one of our video previews.
Awesome name.
Yeah.
Zibanejad. Yeah.
Usually I have a lot of problems with European names,
I
but
believe his dad is Iranian. I'm pretty sure he's Iranian. Or
Whoa.
he's from the Middle East.
That's where the Zibanejad name would have to come from.
Yeah, for sure.
But the World Juniors in Canada, it's always like a name butchering contest for all the announcers on TV. Like you got the Canadian names. Sometimes it's hard to pronounce names of the Canadian players, like
Yeah. Mark Pysyk.
like Mark Pysyk, yeah, that's right
Second.
there. Jamie Alexiak,
Yeah.
stuff like that. But then you have Zibanejad, names like
Yeah.
that. It's kind of funny when you look back at it.
I think Sweden is one of those teams that they have a little bit of the good qualities of each other team. They have
Yeah.
great scoring. They always had solid defense, and they've had some of the best goaltending that we've seen in the last while. Bonus, I guess, Justin Kahns of
Benjamin Kahns.
Benjamin Kahns
Yeah,
of
yeah.
Sweden.
Switzerland.
Switzerland.
But yeah, I mean, and another thing, very quickly to mention about the Swedish team is that many of the players from Team Sweden, as they are with the next team we'll talk about, come from their respective countries' elite league. So they have
Yeah.
a sense of community, a sense of brotherhood almost. in
They
that
only have
respect, too.
they have 3 forwards right now that are playing in the
in the NHL.
in the
Or in North
the,
America,
yeah,
sorry,
in
yeah.
North America, the CHL, 2
Yeah.
in the OHL, 1 in the WHL.
Yep.
No defensemen playing on North American soil.
Yep. And let's move on to Finland, I guess. Finland would have to be another favorite. I mean, they're, especially in international play at the men's level, they've been lights out in Olympic play at the very least.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen in the NHL level, the Koivus, Teemu Selanne,
Yeah.
great Finnish players. So it's a country that always has a great number of prospects in their
And
system.
the next great Finnish player playing on this team, perhaps Michael Granlund,
No.
a guy that we've seen, this is his 3rd World Juniors, let go for the Minnesota Wild for this tournament. Playing phenomenally, of course. He's going to be one player to definitely keep your eye out for. A lot of people, Bob McKenzie saying, #1 player to watch in this tournament.
If you haven't heard of this guy, get his name, check it
YouTube.
out, YouTube it, and watch his goal.
He's
Him and his
incredible.
brother have the same
Yep.
similar style goal. I won't spoil it for you because I'm not a spoiler kind of guy.
Yes. So his brother's name is Marcus. His name is Mikhail. They're both, more diminutive type players, 5'11",
In the
5'10",
Finnish tradition.
In the Finnish tradition, but complete skill. These are some players you want to watch.